The lesson.
Oh, yeah.
Now, for someone obviously with such a big history, you know, because you've been doing it for a while, walk us through, I guess, how you got started.
Okay, so basically, I wanted to DJ. I started collecting records, and then I wanted to use those records and play those records to people. And we had a breakdance club, and I started playing them there, and I got a chance to play on decks for the first time, and it was brilliant. I was like, wow, this is the best hobby ever. This is better than soccer. This is better than cricket. This is better than tennis. This is what I want to do. This is special. And, you know, people collect stuff, so collecting records and then obviously sharing those records with people. I got an opportunity to enter a DJ competition to actually really perform on Technics turntables. And I got to the final, and that was it. I just kind of like started DJing. I waited a couple of years before I could afford to buy my own decks. And suddenly I started DJing for a reggae band called Big Corporation. And I toured with them around the country a few times. And people were I noticed that people were enjoying my DJing, and I don't mean this in a big-headed way, but they liked my DJing more than they liked the band, because I had such good music that nobody else was playing. You know, I was collecting like US import rap records and funk records and mixing it all up, and everyone was loving it and dropping instrumentals and doing a bit of scratching. It's like, wow, what is this guy doing? And mixing Disney records over stuff and just being freaky. And it's like, this guy's an entertainer. And then I started writing music, because I felt that this is when the gangster rap sort of come in era, and I thought, you know what, I can't play this music. It's too much swearing. It's too militant. It's no funk, no soul for me. Not all of it. And so I went into the studio and started writing my own instrumental sort of hip hop. And it was around the big beat era with Fatboy Slim and all that lot. And that scene was massive in England. And it was anything goes at clubs: drum and bass, electro, hip hop, pop, disco, soul, funk, reggae, the lot. And I quite liked that idea of encompassing all those different styles of music into one night. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to start writing funky beats. Fatboy Slim signed one of my records. Ministry of Sound picked up on it. They signed 3 EPs, and they were kind of like big beat, trip hop, as you could say. And that Krafty Kuts was born. And then suddenly, there's no internet then. It was word of mouth and interviews and press, magazines, and which was a big thing in Australia then, you know, all those magazines. So when I come touring here, you'd walk along the street and on the floor there'd be a picture of my face on this magazine, and then you go to the record store and there'd be like another couple of magazines and my face would be in them. And Fuzzy were touring me, and they were putting me on all these big events and stuff. So I really became quite a big artist in Australia. And around the world. I've done a lot of tours in Asia and America and Europe and stuff. And I got into it like early, you know, Chemical Brothers, Fatboy Slim, all that sort of era. But I was doing something different. You know, I was doing hip hop, breakbeat, drum and bass, and mixing it up. And I think people liked it. They kind of felt like he was the party starter. You know, you go and see Krafty Kuts and you'd hear something that no one else was doing. And I was trying to... My roots were always hip hop and funk. That's what I love, and that's what I've done recently. A lot of, you know, mixes going back to my roots. But during those like last 15 years, I got to see and do the most amazing things that I could ever explain to anyone, and see some of the most beautiful countries in the world. And I mean, to be honest, the Big Day Out tour was the best tour I've ever done. You know, I played to 40,000 people in Sydney twice. I played to 15,000 people. I've never experienced anything like it in Brisbane. We walked into the tent this was when I was toured with Dynamite MC, and the tent was packed, and there was as many people in the tent, which was about 10, 12,000, as there was outside queuing to get in. And we walked up on stage, and Dynamite's first words, and a sea of hands just went up, and that was it. My hairs on my arm just went, and then I nearly broke out in tears. I was just so emotional. I was like, wow, this is brilliant. And I got to meet like Rage Against the Machine and Bjork, and was touring with Cole Cox, Dizzy Rascal, LCD Sound System. This was when Dizzy Rascal was just blowing up then. So had some brilliant times, DJ'd with some amazing people in Australia, and yeah, I'm still living the dream. Living the dream.
So how many years now in the?
I'd say from now, about 20 years now, probably all told, maybe 18. Let's see, about 18 years professionally. And I still feel like my best is to come. You know, I try and look after myself, stay healthy, eat healthy, and listen to other artists, watch other DJs, gain knowledge still, and loving all the music that's out still. It's a lot different from years ago, but it's still exciting. And I suppose when I'd done the Golden Era mixes, it was kind of like that was where I found that music was getting a little bit lost, and that's why I wanted to do those. But now music's a bit of a resurgence. You know, there's the future-based stuff, which is pretty cool. I've just finished a new album, done loads of hip-hop tracks on there, so I'm feeling very positive, to be honest.
I remember watching you with the Scratch Perverts. I think we talked about this.
It's funny, yeah, we were just talking about that a minute ago.
Yeah, at Traffic.
Yeah.
Like back in the day.
Oh my
and
God.
you played after... Yeah, you played after Scratch Perverts, and actually I went with your brother. His brother was 17. Like, I can't remember how he got in, but he got in. And that was the first time I seen you play. And then after that, I caught on to... Is it Trick Technology?
Yeah.
That joint that you did?
Yeah.
And then, because that's with A-Skills.
That's right, yeah.
And then there's the joint, I think on the back of the 12, on the flip of the 12 is it These Are the Breaks,
Yeah.
Curtis Blow?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and
That's
then
right.
like that record's so thrashed, I've used it at every party,
Oh,
every
thanks,
festival
mate.
and shit.
Yeah, it was a bit of a classic, wasn't it, over here? And it was nice to hook up with an old school rapper and do some stuff. And, you know, those records have gone down well in Australia, and I've got to play. It's all about, like, as an artist, getting exposure, you know, because there's loads of really good acts there out in the world, but a lot of them don't get exposure. You know, a lot of rappers, and they don't get to rhyme on some really cool beats, or they don't get exposed on the radio. And when I'd done Trick Technology, we were being toured by a company called Fuzzy, and they'd done Field Day and other festivals, and they were putting us on big shows, so a big audience would get to see this music. And obviously me and Adam, you know, I would class us as reasonably good technical DJs, so people would get to hear good music and actually see DJs at work, and it was special for them. I remember we played to 20,000 people in Melbourne, and we were and it was in the middle of trance DJs, and then suddenly we just came on and just flipped our shit and just went for it. And they were just like, what's going on here? This is crazy. And I just thought, wow, you know, Australia really appreciates good DJs and good music. And then obviously the radio picks up and your music gets played on radio. And if 20,000 people see you play in Sydney and Melbourne, and I've done the Big Day Out tour, you know, you suddenly become a bit of a household name. and you know, that's the thing about Australia. They're a little bit more relaxed, and they give credit where it's due to people and give them an opportunity. Whereas in other countries, you know, you have to pay for those opportunities, and it's really difficult, and it's really hard to make a name for yourself. And that's what I love about Australia. Very creative country, very kind of, I don't know, they just represent music in a much better way, I feel. Always has done.
The lesson. Oh, yeah.